Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, the hospital announces a new plan to help sick people in the city. Plus, a tenant wants justice. She was evicted during COVID. Now, her case with the Landlord and Tenant Board has been buried in backlog. Outrage over a racist incident at a Windsor school. The public board promising to do better. And visitors from our twin city in Poland ask us for more help so they can help Ukrainians fleeing the war. We begin tonight with a new respiratory assessment center at Windsor Regional Hospital. It's meant to deal with the influx of cases as the province and community deals with a triple threat of viruses. It's the COVID assessment center, but it's being turned into the Adult and Pediatric Respiratory Care Center as COVID, RSV, and influenza sweep through the community.
It's by appointment only, and that's to do two things. Number one, so we ensure we can see everybody in a safe manner, and number two, we can segregate them when they get into the facility to ensure that pediatric patients are segregated from the adults, etc. Because unfortunately, a lot of the symptoms are very similar for all three, and we've seen some patients unfortunately test positive for all three.
It opens Monday, running 7 days a week. The goal, ease pressures on emergency rooms.
There are services we ask individuals to look to their primary care provider. Number one, look at other clinics that are open in the community. And of course, in an emergency situation, do go to the emergency department.
Right now, hospital is at capacity. We've heard that before, but this year, COVID is not the main driver. Influenza and RSV in kids are the biggest problems.
Well, as it is today, our pediatric census is okay, meaning it's like 100%. It has gone as high as 125%, so we have 16 base beds and 8 surge beds. On top of that, we've some days had to use all 8. Today we're not, but again, it changes really rapidly.
Some kids have had to be on ventilators. The province responding to cases with a recommendation to wear a mask, no mandate for now. Local MPP Andrew Dowie says everyone needs to assess their own situation.
So in my case, I'm choosing to wear a mask in the legislature. And those all around me have been doing so as well. It's been very, very nice to see. But we want to definitely stress that it is a choice of the individual.
At what point would you support a mandate for masks?
Ultimately, our government takes its recommendations from Dr. Kieran Moore, the Chief Medical Officer of Health.
I asked Mouche if he thought it was time for a mandate.
I support masks. They work. I'm not going to get into a debate that's a public health debate, and I'll leave it up to the public health officers.
Staring down the barrel of another winter promising things will get worse, Mouche says everyone has to play their part to get through it.
We've been talking about this for months, that this was coming, this was brewing, and we've tried our best to give everyone a heads up. We are definitely nowhere near out of the woods. We're just pretty much at the start of the woods, especially for Windsor-Essex, because we're sometimes late to the game when it comes to the outbreaks across the province.
Some relief is on the way for parents. The federal government says 1 million bottles of children's pain and fever medication are on the way. They should be here next week. The foreign produced supply was approved by Health Canada to shore up supply here. Shelves have been nearly empty as parents try to find medication to help their sick kids. And it's been forcing some people in Windsor to cross over to Detroit for supplies. A Windsor woman who was kicked out of her rental back in 2020 says it's taking way too long to get her eviction case heard before Ontario's Landlord and Tenant Board. As CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa reports, the board is facing a backlog of cases with people waiting 7 to 8 months for their matters to be resolved.
I just can't let it go. I lost too much. I lost everything.
July 11th, 2020. It's the day Brenda Lelivre recalls becoming homeless. She returned home to find that the locks on her basement room were changed and some of her belongings thrown in garbage bags. She says her landlords illegally evicted her when there was a ban on evictions due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I suffer from it to this day because of it. But I had to go live off a couch for a few weeks before I could find accommodations.
She admits to having issues with the landlords and being behind 1 month's rent, but says kicking her out was wrong. Her eviction case has been sitting before Ontario's Landlord and Tenant Board now for months. She first filed a case in October 2020, but at the hearing, her landlords didn't have a translator. She also felt like she filled out the application wrong, so she closed the case. She refiled in June 2021 and has had 2 hearings since. The first one, her landlords again didn't have a translator, and the second one, the board mediator arrived late, forcing Lelivra's paralegal to ask for another hearing date.
Oh, I cried. I called my friend, and so this is how it played out today. And yeah, so we're back to the waiting game.
In an email, a spokesperson for Ontario's Landlord and Tenant Board said that recent challenges have impacted its caseload. That pause on eviction hearings between March and August of 2020 meant that 25,000 eviction hearings were postponed. Right now, it's taking about 7 to 8 months for new and adjourned matters to be heard. Before the pandemic, that was 7 to 8 weeks. Advocates say that the delays are creating havoc.
What we're seeing is sort of a Wild West out there where parties are taking matters in their own hands. We are hearing stories about landlords posting on social media asking, what are the penalties if I illegally evict my tenant? Certainly hearing stories about tenants withholding their rent.
Kwan says the board needs to return to in-person hearings and put in place a better case management system. This month, the LTB announced that it would prioritize above-guideline rent increase applications and previously adjourned matters, which could push Lelivra's case up. But for now, it's still a waiting game.
Like some of why I haven't given up, because I don't think I should. I want to stand by this. I do believe, trust the process, but it wears you thin,
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
Educators at the Public Board in Windsor-Essex received mandatory anti-Black racism training today. It specifically dealt with a new directive that bans the use of the N-word. People protested outside Kennedy High School earlier this week. They say a teacher was using that word in a casual manner, which led to student complaints.
We've asked for some sort of immediate action. Students who say the word in school have in the past received immediate sanctioning for it, and this teacher has not. Now, we did receive some notification that this teacher was going to be no longer welcome at Kennedy Collegiate. However, last night we received word that the teacher was still in the school in the 2 days since we received that notification, which makes it seem like the board is really not taking this as seriously as we would like them to.
A superintendent said it's investigating the incident. The Public Board apologized for anti-Black racism at the board earlier this year. McCurdy is part of a group working on a 5-year strategy for change.
I'm a part of a working group that is specifically dealing with the treatment of the N-word in schools, because in part there's some debate about that, because yes, the word is something we should not use. However, there is a body of Black work, of Black literature. I mean, for instance, Lawrence Hill, one of the top Black authors in Canada, has written literature where that word is used. So you wouldn't want to say just eliminate the book because the word is in there, but you would want, again, provide the education and temper the word when speaking it so that it won't be an affront to anybody who might be engaging in that book. So, I mean, again, the main piece from my personal perspective is that the education point really, really needs to be attended to when we're talking about this stuff.
Turning now to Russia's war against Ukraine. People there are getting ready for what promises to be a hard winter. This is a lineup for gas in Kherson, at the first station to reopen in the city since Russian troops left a week ago. Fuel, food, and medical supplies are urgently needed there. And across the country, crews are working to restore the electrical grid after the latest Russian airstrikes. Blackouts yesterday hit as many as 10 million people. There's a lot of attention this week on Ukraine's border country, Poland. That's where Windsor has a twin city, Lublin. It's not far from the border and just a short drive away from where a missile strike killed 2 people on Wednesday. According to Polish and NATO officials, it likely came from Ukrainians' air defenses, and they're calling it a mishap. Poland's ambassador to Canada is in Windsor this week. So are dignitaries from Lublin. Today, they opened an art exhibit at City Hall. But as Del Monar reports, it was also an opportunity to hear firsthand what's happening in Windsor's sister city.
1, 2, 3. Yay!
This artwork came from sister cities such as Mannheim, Germany, and also Lublin, Poland. This city of 340,000 now pays host to as many as 50 to 70,000 Ukrainian refugees at any given time. Earlier this year, Windsor's International Relations Committee convinced City Council to send $5,000 to Lublin to help feed and house the refugees. But the money also went to school the children.
The rest of the money were used to provide Ukrainian books for libraries and for schools.
They're grateful for Windsor's contribution, but the city could use millions more.
This is the war, is an evil that is painful and hurts the children in an absolutely special way.
The Polish ambassador to Canada expects another wave of refugees as winter sets in, and so he says more support is needed.
And those requests are, first of all, to continuously provide support to Ukrainians, especially in the area of military support, because this is the only way Ukrainians are able to win this horrid war. But also to provide humanitarian support and to recognize the sacrifice of the countries that provide help, direct help to Ukrainians, and also consider avenues to provide support also to the countries that provide that help.
Councillor Fred Francis leads Windsor's International Relations Committee. He says sending more money to Lublin will be up to the incoming council.
Anytime we receive letters or communications from our sister city for partnership, for cooperation, or for assistance, we take that very seriously.
Lublin is not far from the Ukrainian border. A missile that struck an area of Poland on the border scared people in Lublin. Both Ambassador Julski and Stanowski say it wouldn't have happened if Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine.
When there is a war, your home can be destroyed, your family can be killed, and this war was started by Russia.
As they draw up plans for the future, today's focus was the art made by the hands of children. The art exhibit will be displayed in the lobby of City Hall for 2 weeks. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Windsor drivers will be seeing more ride programs this month. Police will be setting up to make sure drivers stay sober. Police out today showing what this will look like. The OPP has also kicked off its annual campaign. They charged 17 drivers in 2022. You can expect to see officers out across Windsor-Essex at any time of day.
Ride programs are very, very effective. I don't have the stats and numbers in front of me right now, but you see day after day talking to the police services in the area, each ride at least gets 1 or 2 impaired drivers off the road, which is significant. But they're a very effective tool in combating impaired driving, and we fully support them. We want to see our citizens safe. Impaired driving causes destruction. A lot of innocent people are being injured and or killed due to someone's reckless actions. So with having these ride programs, it's lessening that chance of somebody, killing or injuring somebody, including themselves.
The 519 is about to get another area code. 382 will soon start popping up on your call display. It's coming to new phone numbers for people across southwestern Ontario. It should be available next year once numbers that work with the old area codes run out. But area codes are personal for some people. Here's some of the reaction to the new addition.
Why would they choose that number? We have 519 and 226. Like 519, it's pretty symbolic. Like Toronto's like 416. That makes sense. 382 is kind of like these kind of pick some random numbers out of a hat.
So nowadays, if a kid was going to get their very first phone, starting in the spring of 2023, they might have to deal with the 382. And how do you think a kid would feel?
That's something new to get used to. That's not a traditional Windsor phone number.
Got to rep the 519, right?
Exactly.
Repping the 382 doesn't sound as good, does it?
I guess you got to get used to it.
Southwestern Ontario, starting in the spring of 2023, is introducing a new area code, and you haven't heard about this yet, so I'm going to break it to you, and I want to get your instant reaction, okay? The new one is 382.
382. More for us to remember. more for us to put in our phones because we don't know anybody's phone numbers anymore anyway. So, you know, I guess if we need it, it speaks to population growth. So that's a good thing, I think, for Windsor and Essex County. So I guess it's a good thing for us to have.
A program that matches University of Windsor students with adults with developmental disabilities has returned. APEX is short for Adaptive Physical Exercise. Students volunteer to help participants work out. The program had been put on pause because of the pandemic, but now it's back. We stopped by to check out some of the action.
I come here Monday and Wednesday to exercise and getting stronger each week.
Seth is always going after his hope of still playing basketball. He likes being active and doing anything. He always tells me if he wants to change something from his normal routine, he loves practicing his basketball shots. He can shoot free throws all day.
8, 9, 10.
One of the key pieces to the APEX program is that it's fully inclusive. So it's important that the people supported by Community Living Essex County come down and work out alongside our university members and our community members and get that inclusive exercise program. However, it's also a huge benefit to our students. So our students who work out alongside and see our program operate really see the ability in the people that Community Living Essex County supports and grasp a better understanding of their potential in the gym.
I hear you like biking.
Yes, I do.
How come?
Because it's good for me to exercise.
What do you like best about coming to the APEX program?
I like those people there to help me out.
They're all happy to come every Monday and Wednesday, and it's nice to see that joy that brings them.
And working one-on-one with people, you know, what's that like?
It's pretty rewarding. It allows me to take all my kin expertise and use it towards Mare, and also it allows her to get that exercise that she would like to throughout the day.
Do you like everybody that you work with here?
Yeah!
Is it one of your favorite places to come?
Yeah!
And you like biking the most?
Yeah!
I've got a giant smile on my face after watching that. Take a look outside there. It is still technically fall, but it's sure starting to feel like winter. The snowfall was pretty today, but it was biting being outside. Dahlia Asher will be here after the break with a closer look at the forecast. Stay with us. People in parts of western New York State woke up to a blanket of snow nearly a meter deep today, and the accumulation of snow could almost double by late Sunday. Wow. Road travel advisories and outright bans were in place this morning. Several centimeters of snow. They've been falling hourly, but it has been uneven. And one town located just 40 kilometers from areas with the highest snowbanks reported about 3 centimeters of snow. Most flights of Buffalo's airport were canceled and the city's schools were closed. And I know I'm not watching this alone. Dahlia Ashery is with us, and I'm sure we're both just so grateful to not be in that part of New York State.
I know. Listen, Katerina, we're wishing our neighbors some luck because they're going to need it over the next few days. We won't be needing our shovels, though, for now. But let's not get too excited because our day will come, Katerina. Our day will come. Yeah, so no shopping to Buffalo anytime soon. Just hold back on that. If you don't have your winter tires, let this be a warning that you might need it in the few weeks to come. So some colder temperatures overnight tonight. That's what we can expect in southern Ontario. A little bit of flurry, so we might see similar, white markings on the floor, but nothing like we're seeing south of the border when we're talking about New York and Buffalo. Now, we are sitting a bit below seasonal temperatures. Usually the normal high this time of year is 7 degrees. Today's daytime high in Windsor is -2, and the normal low is usually 0, and we're sitting around that same mark for tonight in Windsor. Now, currently it is -2 degrees in Windsor for the low, for the current temperatures, and in London a little bit similar temperatures, -2, and then Sarnia -1. Now there is a snow drop that is in effect for some parts of the area, like we're talking about near Niagara region, anywhere that's bordering with Buffalo because of that lake effect near Lake Erie. That band will continue. They will be seeing a little bit more snow, but up to 10 centimeters of snow. Now the windy conditions is expected all across Ontario, and that will be going on for the next few days as we head into the weekend. Now we're seeing winds gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour. So with that wind chill, even though it's -6, it might feel more like -13 tonight. So bundle up if you plan on heading out. And if not, stay indoors, have some hot chocolate, keep warm because it is going to be windy over the next few days, especially as we wrap up the weekend and we head into the work week. Now, we are not expecting snow like we talked about south of the border in Buffalo, but we will be seeing some flurries. We could see a little bit of that action making its way through across southern Ontario and some parts of cottage country. Tonight, a low of -6 in Windsor, and like I said, with that wind chill, feel more like -13, so bundle up, and winds will be gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour, so it will feel quite chilly, but mainly sunny skies, really a mixture of sun and clouds for some days throughout the weekend, hovering around the sub-zero mark. But as we head into the work week on Monday, there is some light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully melting all that snow away so it's not damaging for any crops. We're seeing temperatures above that 0 mark. Katerina?
I like seeing that because today was very cold.
Yes.
And it was very windy, so I'm hoping it'll just be a little bit nicer.
I know, and the sun can be a little deceiving when you have that wind too, so don't let it fool you. Still a little chilly, but it will get warmer above that sub-zero temperature.
Thanks for that, Dahlia.
Thanks.
When we come back, a sneak peek at a world premiere at the Capitol Theater. Stay with us. The World Cup kicks off this weekend, and soccer fans trying to catch early morning games will be able to grab some beer with their pancakes. The province announcing today it will allow earlier alcohol service during the World Cup from November 20th to December 18th. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario says licensed bars and restaurants can start serving liquor at 7 a.m., which is 2 hours earlier than usual. They're catering to early morning games, which start as early as 5 a.m. Windsor time. And we leave you tonight with a world premiere right here in Windsor. It's an Iranian piece with more than 90 singers performing in Farsi with a connection to the unrest happening right now in Iran. It's happening this weekend at the Capitol Theatre. Here's a preview.
This piece is based on a love story from Shahnameh or Book of the King. The whole story actually starts with the poets starting to describing the night. And actually when you read it, the end and the beginning, you clearly see the movement from the darkness to the light.
This is sort of like a Persian Romeo and Juliet kind of tale. And then at the end, the two star-crossed lovers do finally get together and fall in love and live happily ever after.
A very emotional piece that tells a very emotional story. And I like the idea of having chorus with piano and orchestra. Most piano concertos are just piano and orchestra, but having the chorus in there tells a story. And being that it will be in the native language, Farsi, it makes it even more compelling.
With a chorus of 90, we had to wait till we could unmask them so that the audience could hear them singing. So that sort of delayed this for a couple of years.
Especially from the past 20 years, there was a rise of composing or creating art or anything based on the Persian culture. And what you are seeing right now is the rise of that culture. Actually, what you are seeing, people using all the Persian symbols, even the women's rights. Actually, women try to get what they had before, because you look at this story, you look at the stories of all the Book of the Kings, Persian queens, and etc. Women are very, very powerful in Iran, so they want to get back what they had.
Good night. Thanks for watching.